Alright, on target gun guy here. So, the old Cp2000. I've had this machine, for a few weeks now. Maybe going on 2 months, finally. So I figured I would do a review of standard processing cases, and figured now is a good enough time as any. So I took a bunch of footage when I first got it of unboxing it and putting it together, and the trouble I had with the case feeder and stuff that was missing and yada yada yada. And I've been trying to edit that video and somehow I lost the footage. So long story short, I don't know if that video is ever going to come to fruition, so we're going to go over that with this real quick, and then I'm going to do my review. So when I first got this machine, taking it out of the box, you know, it was boxed pretty much like a 1050 or RL1100. Putting it together, first thing that I had a problem with was this catch bin bracket. The holes didn't line up 100% true. So when I would go to start this bar, support bar, I would have to put it in there. It would have been cross-threaded, and obviously you don't want to do that, so especially on a new machine. So I took this bracket, took it over to the drill press, hogged the holes out, a little bit oversized, bolted it all down. That took care of it. The next problem I had that I noticed, so I went to install my primer catch bin bracket. The bracket was actually missing, and so was the screw, which obviously I didn't use the bin bracket. I got a 3D printed catch for a tube. I had to go through some dillion stuff I had. I ended up finding a screw that worked just fine, so I put that in there. So the next thing I had issue with, which wasn't anything to do with dillion or inline fabrications, but more of a pull lock not getting in his way type of thing, was this mounting bracket here. So as you can see, I've notched it out. Reason why I had to do that is because this press handle comes all the way down to such a stupidly long stroke that it was hitting this bracket, and I could not, it was stopping like right about here. I could not get that full stroke that I needed to do to fully process the case and to make it index properly and things like that. Now I know the bracket through inline is actually designed to go the opposite way, but I didn't want to go the opposite way because I needed or wanted this accessory hole to tie my primer disposal tube to, basically primer catch tube. I tie it back. I found on all the 1050s, and I'm going to assume probably the RL1100s as well, this is a good idea to keep it away from the indexing mechanism, to keep it from ruining a perfectly good tube. So we took and cut that out, not a big deal, made clearance there. I got my way, that way I didn't have to drill another hole in the backside or weld anything to a new thing. I would rather cut it and do that than do what else I had to do. So the next thing I did, which I do to all my presses, is the shell plate, the little indexing spring here in the spring and ball catch to indexes the plate stop. I cut a half coil off that spring so I didn't have so much case plate deflection. It helps keep the brass from moving around, wobbling around. If you're loading on a 1050 or RL1100, that's going to help with your powder splash, especially if you pair that with a double alpha powder splash brush. You're going to pretty much have nothing if you do that. So I did that. Didn't have to do that with this machine, obviously, because I'm just processing on it and it's not loading anything, but I found that it helps kind of keep the brass from walking around, helps me from keeping and bending decapping pins and messing up dies and screwing up brass. So next thing I had to do was set up my RT1500 trimmer. The bolt that come on this press looks like this. So with that being said, let's see if I can find it here. The manifold would not sit down on there because it was in the way, so I had to cut it out. Now that worked okay, but I was afraid I wasn't going to get a good enough seal, and I was going to get brass flying everywhere. I didn't want to run the risk of clogging that head up or clogging the shell plate up, so I ended up taking and switching that out, trying the 1050 bolt, which is the exact same size and everything, and length, and I put that on there, and lo and behold, this manifold works just fine. So, you know, I know guys have been modifying those. I would just personally go on here and just get a 1050 bolt and not worry about it, because Dillon's probably gonna end up doing that anyway to fix the problem, or they're gonna make a new manifold and make you pay $30 for it when you can literally buy a $5 bolt and washer. To date, I've run probably between 13 to 15,000 cases through this press in this setup, and I haven't had any problems. I haven't had to tighten that up or anything like that. It hasn't messed with any of the operation. It's been operating just fine, running flawlessly and smoothly. So I don't see that I'm going to have any issues with that in the future. So I got the case feeder, variable speed case feeder. I had to do a lot of tinkering with that when I first got it, which was kind of a pain in the ass because all the other case feeders I had were already set from the factory, so I had to adjust the clutch, which whatever, more than an annoyance than anything. Kind of like the missing pieces and the screwed up mounting bracket was more of an annoyance than anything. It just kind of ate up some time. The fact that I paid $1,600 to Dillon plus shipping really pissed me off. I had to do that. It wasn't good to go out of the box, but I've been learning to deal with that lately with Dillon. And it seems how my pockets aren't deep enough for a Evolution Mark 7 yet. I'm gonna deal with it, I guess, so to speak. Dillon makes a good product, but sometimes you got to deal with some crap and put your own ingenuity in it and fix it to make it right from what it was supposed to be. I tried running a bigger shop vac outside the room, so I didn't have it wasn't as loud, but I was having problems with brass shavings and stuff, so I just went down to the local farm store, bought me a little itty bitty shop vac with a catch bag in it, with the right size diameter hose. Put that right here on the bench, and I've been running that, no issues. Probably 10,000 rounds, something like that. Yeah, let's set the swaging rod up, and I mean, I got some beautiful brass going here. Everything's in factory spec. Running a universal decapping pin, and then my sizing die with another decapping pin, just so for some reason it doesn't pop out there, it will pop out there. I may have to change that when I automate it. I've been trying to find a Rev 3 for it, but those are about impossible to come by right now, so I'm probably going to end up just going with the Mark 7. Talked to those guys down there last week, and they said they could have me out one in about 2 to 3 weeks. Be a few $100s more than what the Rev 3 is, but it'd be all computer controlled, touchscreen, and so I won't have to pull on the thing so much. The other thing that was more of kind of an annoyance than anything was this handle. The screw kept backing out about every 100 rounds. I had to keep tightening it up. Finally got pissed off, Loctite it in there. Put blue Loctite in there at first, and then the fucking thing kept doing it. So I just said fuck it and went to red Loctite. I haven't had a problem since. Oh, so this here is the I'll put a link in the description below. E-Manufacturing 223 extended height case block. I've been reading about these for quite some time, and I had got one because I was having feeding issues on my 1050, and so I was having a lot of issues with feeding cases not going in all the way, bending cases and stuff like that. So I tried one for my 1050. It pretty much solved that problem, unless I had crap down in here. So the guys over there had got this one set up for a RL 1100, sent it out to me, see if it would work on this Cp2000, because I was having case wobble issues every now and then, which I was screwing up brass and processing it. You know, you want to process good brass and not screw it up. And so I put that on there, and that pretty much took care of the problem. I like it a lot. Took care of any tube wobble too every once in a while with just the bushing in there. I was having a hard time. I'd have cases get stuck in there, and I'd have to beat on it and get them to come down. Haven't had to do that since, which is really nice. Got me a 3D printed offshoot funnel on there, just kind of vice gripped in place. I actually share that with the loading press. So for right now, until I can get another one printed up. So yeah, I mean, I've been running. So Dillion sends you a universal rifle swaging die as well, which is nice. The only thing they don't send you is a case feeder plate, or excuse me, the case feeder plate you get, but the I'm gonna brain fart here. The index shell plate, they don't send that, which would be nice if they give you that option when you checked out, because I mean, obviously, I mean, they give you a small rifle shell plate, and they give you a small rifle tube and all that stuff, and they give you this universal small rifle swaging die. They ought to think, well, he's probably going to process in 223 or something on it. They give you the indexing pins, so it would have been nice if they would just give you the THAM plate, but they don't. So I had an extra one, so I just tossed that on there. Otherwise I've been screwed, because they weren't real clear on whether or not it come with it. Just like the RT1500 wasn't real clear whether it come with the OS manifold or not, and so I bought one. Spent an extra 30 bucks, and guess what? It come with it in the box. So anyway, overall it's a good machine. It's got about 35% more of a stroke than a 1050. So if you go from running that by hand to running a 1050 by hand, your arm's going to feel a little funky. Took a little while to get used to, as far as that goes. Other than the manufacturing issues and the packing issues, I don't really have any complaints on the machine right now. Like I said, I've run probably between 12 to 15,000 rounds. I kind of lost count since I've had it, and it's been running them pretty smooth. After I got the swaging rod and everything all set up, and the case feeder to where it would dispense cases properly, and I got this figured out here. I tried this to where I wasn't crushing cases about every third or fourth one. I can get on it and run it now. According to Dylan, it's called the Cp2000 because they say you can process 2,000 cases a minute by hand, 1,800 or so by hand. I'll tell you, for a fat Pollock, if I take and have preloaded brass and gallon bags, which is a little over probably 600 cases I fit in there, if I have those stacked up already pre-lubed to where all I got to do is when I see the primer or the case funnels running low, I just dump them in with one hand or both hands, whatever I decide to do. And then if I stay right on it, pulling the handle, as many cases as I pulled in an hour was a little over 1,600. It was like 1,635 cases in an hour. And that's going at a pretty decent clip for doing it by hand, especially for a fat old Pollock. I don't like going really much faster than that, just because you're doing a single pass trim job right now, and I don't want a sloppy trim job or brass shavings everywhere. But that's at a moderate pace. I would imagine if I put an ammo bot on it, or a Mark 7, I could probably get the 2,000 mark with no problem. I've heard of guys doing more than that with it automated, if they can keep the hopper fed. So that's my rant on the CP2000. Overall, it's a good machine. I've reached out to Dylan about the issues I had. Haven't heard back from him. Probably won't hear back from him. Sure, I'm not a priority right now because of all the stuff that's going on. They got my money and all that other stuff. So, is it worth $1,600 if you're gonna do some major reloading? And you need something just to process on, and don't want to switch the machines out all the time? Yeah. If I wasn't a commercial loader and processing brass for other people as well as myself, I probably would have just went with a Lee APP press, to be honest with you. A few $100s, and I got a buddy that's got one of those, and he processes, he can process close to 800 rounds of 223 an hour on it. 1,000, 1,100 pieces of 9mm an hour. He puts the kid behind it and lets him go at it. So I'm not really gaining a whole gaining that much on this compared to that, other than the fact that I'm trimming on here. So to my knowledge, the APP press does not have a case trimmer attachment yet. So, but so yes and no, it's worth the money. I would probably think it would be worth the money more if they actually give you a little bit more value for what you're getting, as far as if they included a shell plate of your choice, and the parts that come with it actually come with it and they were actually made to fit. I probably wouldn't be so harsh on them, but I am going to give them a little grace as far as I understand what's going on with this pandemic and all that crap. It's put a crunch on everybody, but I was a little disappointed because I expect more out of Dylan for the cost of their machines and what they are. But overall, it's a good machine. Once I got the quirks figured out, I've been rocking on it, and I think that it'll be long-term use. It'll probably last a while, and I'll get my money back out of it for sure. And once I get it automated and I run a few thousand rounds through it, I will give you guys an update. But as of right now, if you're serious about reloading and you're putting thousands of rounds down range, yeah, it's probably a good idea to invest. But if you're just kind of the novice guy that puts 1,500 rounds downrange a year and loads a couple hundred here and there, I would go with APP press, just to be honest with you. A lot less money, and you know, a lot simpler. They don't take up much room on the bench. Pair that with a little Crow Gunworks case trimmer and a drill or a lathe, like I used to do in my lathe. You sit there and process brass or trim brass for a few hours, and have, you know, 6 or 7 5-gallon buckets to load. So so anyway, yeah, any questions, you know, you guys can always reach out to me at ontargetgunworks.com. There's a link to my email on there, or other contact information. Thanks, and make sure you aim small, miss small, and happy shooting as always.